The conference room smelled like leather and disappointment. Veronica pushed the divorce papers across the table, her lawyer beside her looking like he'd already won. $8,000 a month in alimony, plus half your business. I looked at my wife of 7 years. She was texting someone, probably her trainer Brad, the one she swore was just a friend. Her lawyer's briefcase caught my eye. Gold lettering, Beaumont Holdings. Same name I'd seen on a company car parked outside our house last month, when I wasn't supposed to be home. "This is fair, Owen," Veronica said without looking up from her phone. "Sign it, and we can both move on." I picked up the pen. "Put it down. I need to review this with someone first." She finally looked at me, annoyed. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." 3 months earlier, I would have done anything she asked. 3 months earlier, I was a different man. I'm Owen Kestrel, an accountant. Not the exciting kind you see in movies. Just a guy with a small firm in Seattle, doing taxes and bookkeeping for local businesses. 15 employees, steady work, decent living. Every morning I'd wake up at 6:30, make breakfast, check emails. Normal life. Veronica and I met at a friend's wedding 8 years ago. She was beautiful, funny, talked about wanting to help kids through her charity work. Her family had money, old Seattle money, but she seemed different from that crowd, down to earth, or at least that's what I told myself. Our first 5 years were good, really good. Sunday farmers markets, cooking dinner together, planning vacations we'd actually take. Her father, Harrison Beaumont, barely tolerated me at first. My daughter could do better, he told me once at Thanksgiving. But even he warmed up eventually. The changes were gradual. Veronica started having lunch with her old private school friends. She'd come home talking about their vacations, their jewelry, their husbands' salaries. She joined a country club, hired a personal trainer, stopped coming to my company's events because they were boring. Then I found the email. I'd come home early, my last meeting canceled, and her laptop was open on the kitchen counter. An email thread titled D-Day Planning from a divorce attorney named Caleb Thorne. They'd been corresponding for 6 months. 6 months of planning how to hide her assets and inflate mine. While I was working late to afford her new lifestyle, she was planning to destroy me. I didn't confront her. Instead, I did what I do best. Followed the numbers. First thing I learned, Washington State makes a lot of documents public. Property records, business registrations, court filings. You just need to know where to look. I started spending evenings at the courthouse pulling records. The security guard, Tony, started recognizing me. "Working on something big?" he'd ask. "Just homework," I'd say. Veronica had told me her family money was tied up in trusts she couldn't access. Public records told a different story. She owned 2 rental properties in Bellevue. She was listed as a paid consultant for 3 different companies. Her charity? She drew a salary, $150,000 a year for administrative duties. I found Reagan Zenith through a simple Google search. Seattle divorce attorney who wins. Her office was small, unfancy, in an old building near Pike Place. She was eating a sandwich at her desk when I walked in. "Let me guess," she said before I could speak. "Your spouse is hiding money and thinks you're too stupid to notice. How did you—" 30 years doing this. I can spot the pattern. Sit down. Tell me everything. I told her about Veronica, about the Beaumonts, about what I'd found. She listened, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. "Here's what we're going to do," she said. "We're going to be completely honest about everything. Your finances, your business, everything. And we're going to ask them to do the same. That's it. Trust me. Liars hate transparency." The process was slow. Family court isn't like TV. It's mostly paperwork and waiting. But I kept digging through public records and patterns emerged. The Beaumont family had numerous companies, all legitimate on the surface. But money flowed between them in strange ways. A consulting fee here, a management payment there, always just under $10,000, the amount banks have to report to the IRS. Then I found something interesting in old court records. Harrison Beaumont's divorce from 15 years ago. Most of it was sealed, but the case number and attorney names were public. His ex-wife's attorney had been Reagan Zenith. "You represented Harrison's ex-wife?" I asked Reagan at our next meeting. She smiled. "Attorney-client privilege prevents me from discussing that case. But I can say that public records from that time are educational." I went back to the courthouse. The divorce records showed massive asset transfers. Harrison had fought hard to keep certain family trusts intact, claiming they were for the children's future. What caught my attention was a pattern. Every trust, every property, every asset had Veronica listed as either beneficiary or co-owner. Not held in reserve for her, actively in her name. "She's been lying about having no access to money," I told Reagan. "These documents show she's had signing authority since she turned 25. "Keep digging," Reagan said. "Liars usually lie about more than one thing." My brother-in-law Matt worked at a bank. Over beers one night, without mentioning my situation, I asked about unusual deposit patterns. "Structuring," he said. "People deposit amounts just under the reporting limit. Usually drug money or tax evasion. We see it all the time." That night, I went back to my research. The Beaumont companies weren't just moving money around. They were washing it, taking large payments, breaking them into smaller ones, spreading them across multiple accounts. Classic money laundering. But there was something else. A name kept appearing in the corporate filings. Jennifer Walsh. She was listed as CFO of 3 Beaumont companies. Jennifer Walsh, Veronica's best friend from college, the one who'd been her maid of honor at our wedding. I remembered something from 2 years ago. Jennifer had asked me for tax advice at a dinner party. She'd seemed nervous, kept asking about hypothetical situations involving overseas accounts. I'd told her to get a lawyer. Now I understood why she'd looked so relieved when I didn't push further. I found Jennifer's divorce records from 3 years earlier. Public documents, same courthouse. Her ex-husband had accused her of hiding assets in offshore accounts. The case had settled out of court, sealed. But the accusations were still visible in the initial filing. He'd claimed she was moving money through Caribbean shell companies. Caribbean. The same place the Beaumont companies had consulting agreements with unnamed firms. I'm not a detective, I'm an accountant. But numbers tell stories, and this story was getting bigger than just my divorce. I brought everything to Reagan. She studied the documents for a long time. "We have 2 options," she said. "We can report this to the authorities now, or we can use it strategically in your divorce." "What do you mean?" "I mean we continue with discovery. We ask for all financial records. When they lie, and they will lie, we present what we know. Judges don't like being lied to." "What about Jennifer Walsh?" Reagan smiled. "Let's see who else panics when the dominoes start falling." 2 weeks before the trial, Harrison Beaumont called me personally. We met at his office, top floor of a building downtown, views of the Sound. "Owen," he said, pouring himself scotch at 10 a.m. "Let's settle this like men. Take $50,000 and walk away. Veronica wants $8,000 a month in alimony. Veronica wants a lot of things. I'm offering you a clean break." I pulled out a folder. Copies of the public records I'd found. His face didn't change, but his hand tightened on his glass. "Interesting reading," I said. "Especially the parts about moving money through multiple companies. Always just under 10,000. You don't know what you're playing with. I know exactly what I'm playing with. And I know Veronica has been lying about her finances. That's fraud. Against me and against the court. He set down his glass. What do you want? The truth, in court, about all of it. You'd destroy your own wife to get out of alimony? She destroyed our marriage for money. I'm just asking for honesty. Divorce court is nothing like criminal court. It's smaller, quieter, sadder. Judge Helen Calder presided. Older woman, no nonsense, had a reputation for seeing through bullshit. Caleb Thorne presented Veronica's case smoothly. My struggling business, her accustomed lifestyle, her need for support. Veronica sat there looking perfectly sad, occasionally wiping her eyes. Then Reagan stood up. Your Honor, we'd like to address the respondent's financial disclosure. She presented everything methodically. The properties Veronica owned, all public record, the salary from the charity, documented in tax filings, the consultant payments, all traceable through business registrations. Miss Beaumont claims she has no income and no assets, Reagan said. These documents suggest otherwise. Thorne objected. Your Honor, these are family trusts, not personal assets. Actually, Reagan replied, according to public records from King County, Miss Beaumont has had signing authority on these accounts since 2018. She's listed as co-owner on 2 rental properties in Bellevue. She files tax returns showing investment income. These aren't future inheritances. They're current assets she actively controls. The courtroom went quiet. Veronica turned to her father, who was sitting in the gallery. Judge Calder looked through the documents. Miss Beaumont, did you disclose these assets in your financial affidavit? They're complicated trusts, Your Honor. It's a yes or no question. Veronica looked at Thorne, who nodded slightly. No, Your Honor. So you committed perjury. I didn't think they counted. They're assets. They count. The judge turned to me. Mr. Kestrel, do you have anything to add? This was it. Your Honor, while researching public records for my divorce, I noticed troubling patterns in the Beaumont family finances. Multiple deposits just under federal reporting limits. Money moving between companies in ways that seem designed to avoid detection. I'm not a criminal investigator, but as an accountant, these patterns concern me. Harrison stood up. Your Honor, this is irrelevant to the divorce. It's relevant if Miss Beaumont committed fraud to hide assets, the judge replied. Mr. Thorne, I'm giving you one chance. Do you want to withdraw your client's petition, or should I refer this for criminal investigation? Veronica broke down. Not movie tears. Real, ugly crying. I just wanted what I deserved, she kept saying. Thorne quickly withdrew the petition. The judge ordered Veronica to pay my legal fees, $47,000, and stated she was referring the perjury matter to the prosecutor's office. Additionally, Judge Calder continued, I'm forwarding all financial documents from this case to the State Attorney General's office. What I've seen here suggests potential criminal fraud that goes beyond this divorce. Harrison stood up to leave. Mr. Beaumont, the judge said, you might want to retain criminal counsel. In the hallway afterward, Veronica approached me. Mascara running, designer dress wrinkled. You destroyed my family, she said. No, I just told the truth. My father's already getting calls from investors. The country club is asking questions. My friends think I'm toxic. You tried to steal from me while lying to a judge. What did you expect? I expected you to be the same pushover you always were. She was right about that part. The old me would have signed anything to avoid conflict. She walked away. That was the last time we spoke directly. 6 months later, the State Attorney General's office announced it was investigating several Seattle area businesses for financial fraud. Harrison Beaumont wasn't named initially, but anyone following the case knew who they meant. Jennifer Walsh was arrested 2 weeks later at SeaTac Airport, returning from the Cayman Islands. Veronica had to sell one of her rental properties to pay my legal fees. The market was soft, She took a $30,000 loss. The IRS also came calling about her unreported charity income. Turns out, lying to a divorce court triggers audits. Who knew? The real damage was slower, more grinding. Harrison's investors didn't flee overnight. They slowly, quietly withdrew over the next year. Business deals stopped closing. New partnerships fell through. The Beaumont name became radioactive in Seattle business circles. Jennifer Walsh pled guilty to money laundering and got 3 years. Part of her plea deal involved testifying about the Beaumont companies. Veronica wasn't charged. Prosecutors believed she genuinely didn't know about the criminal aspects. But everyone else knew she'd benefited from dirty money her whole life. I got a call from Veronica 8 months after the divorce. "Jennifer's in prison because of you," she said without preamble. "Jennifer's in prison because she laundered money. She was my best friend. She was your father's accomplice. There's a difference. I need an extension on the legal fee payment. That's between you and the court." The prosecutor declined to file perjury charges against me, said it wasn't worth pursuing. Good for you. But the IRS penalties are killing me. And Dad's legal bills. The investigation is bleeding us dry. Still not my problem. I'm working now. Real work. Selling cars in Tacoma. Congratulations. I hate you. I know. She hung up. She's called 3 times since then. Always about money. I stopped answering. The state's investigation of Harrison is still ongoing. These things take years. But the damage is done. The legal bills alone have forced him to sell off assets. The Medina estate went on the market last month. Not because of asset freezing, simply because he needs the money for lawyers. It's been 18 months now. The investigation into Harrison's companies continues. White-collar crime moves at glacial pace. He hasn't been charged with anything yet. Might never be. But the cost of defending against the investigation has done more damage than any conviction could. His legal team dropped him when he couldn't pay their retainer. He's using a cheaper firm now, the kind that advertises on bus stops. I'm dating Naomi. We keep separate apartments, separate accounts. She thinks I'm paranoid. She's probably right. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. Maybe it never fully does. The strangest thing happened last week. I was grocery shopping when I ran into Jennifer Walsh's ex-husband, Robert. We'd never really talked before, just nodded at social events when our wives dragged us along. "I heard about your divorce," he said. "And about Jennifer. I'm sorry about—" "Don't be. You did what I couldn't. I knew she was hiding money, moving it offshore. But I didn't have the patience to prove it. Took the settlement and ran." He paused. "She wrote me from prison. Blamed me for not stopping her earlier. Like it was my job to keep her honest. Veronica blames me for exposing her. They grew up thinking consequences were for other people." He shifted his weight. "You know there were others, right? Not just Jennifer and the Beaumonts. Half their social circle was in on some version of it. Different schemes, same idea. Hide the money, avoid the taxes, keep getting richer. I figured. Most of them are scared now, waiting to see who else gets pulled into the investigation." He almost smiled. "You're not very popular in certain circles. I can live with that." Veronica's still making monthly payments on the legal fees. 23 down, 13 to go. She's never missed one. The court would garnish her wages if she did. I know she's still selling cars in Tacoma because the checks come from the dealership. Julian told me she's engaged again. Some older guy she met at the dealership. She's telling everyone you financially abused her, hid assets. That's why she needed to protect herself. People believe that? The people who matter know better. The divorce records are public. Last month, I was at a CPA conference when someone recognized my name. "You're the guy from the Beaumont divorce case." Word spreads in professional circles. I've become the go-to accountant for people who suspect their spouses are hiding money. It's depressing work, but it pays well. Harrison called me once. Middle of the night. Probably drunk. You could have just taken the 50,000, he said. You could have raised an honest daughter. She learned from watching me. I know. The investigation won't find anything prosecutable. My lawyers are too good. Maybe. But they're expensive, aren't they? He hung up. That was 6 months ago. Here's the truth about revenge. It's not clean. It's not complete. Veronica's not in prison. Harrison's not bankrupt. Yet. They're just diminished, struggling, paying lawyers, fighting audits, selling assets to stay afloat. But every month, that check arrives, her signature on the bottom. 36 times she has to write my name. Remember what her greed cost her. 13 more to go. That's enough revenge for me. My books balance, hers never will.